Shoemaker.
Hey everybody, we have Kim Weaver here. Kim is in my Friday nights Trance Mediumship Development Circle that we have just named to, what do we name it, Kim?
Voices of Spirit.
Voices of Spirit. So I'm new at this interview and stuff, so I'm kind of nervous. Anyway, Kim is a professional medium, and she is the author of best-selling book now, Death Is Not Goodbye. And I'm going to have Kim tell you a little bit about herself.
Hi, as Julie said, my name is Kim Weaver, and I am an evidential medium and trance medium.
And trance healing.
And trance healing. Well,
trance
healing is fairly new for me. It's something that has recently developed, and I'm still working to develop it further. I am a professional medium, so I do private readings as well as platform demonstrations. I also am a numerologist, so I read numerology. I've dabbled in astrology, human design, gene keys, just about every card system out there. And I've done that over the past probably about 35 to 40 years.
Awesome. That's amazing. And you winded up in my little circle. I'm glad I got to know you. And Kim and I have become friends. We're building a friendship here. And I'm going to ask Kim some questions about her trance development. My goal is to have people in my circle and anybody else who is developing in trance to do interviews with me to explain to others what it's like, what their feelings are, how it is, because I get a lot of private messages asking questions, and everybody has a different experience in trance. So I'm going to ask Kim some questions about it, and my first question is, why trance? I won't ask too many hard ones, Kim.
I think I was led to trance because I've always had, I call it voices in my head. And, you know, sometimes it is, some would say inspired writing. I've done that over probably 20, 25 years. And I knew because of the information I was receiving, it was not coming from me, especially when I would sit and do, say, a channeled writing is what I call it. And a doctor from the other side would be giving medical advice on something. And then I'd go to, of course, Dr. Google and look it up to see if it was accurate. And when I found out it was accurate and it was information on the brain and different parts of the brain, and then the blood flow to the brain, that's when it really got my attention. And that was probably in about 2000, I'm going to say 10 or 12, somewhere in there. And so then that started me, of course, researching further about mental mediumship and then the trance mediumship. And I took a couple of courses, and then I met you. And you invited me to be part of your circle, which I very much appreciate, because as the one thing I will tell everyone regarding development, especially trance, it has improved my mental mediumship like twofold. It's just, I can't even put it into words. It's just amazing how much more my mental mediumship has increased as far as accuracy, everything.
That's something I always forget about. I mean, lately, we used to talk about it a lot, but it really does increase your mental mediumship. And which has proven with you too in your trance, because you give a lot of evidence in trance. You started from the beginning giving evidence. I remember that. So what was it like your first time blending? Do you remember?
As far, you know, I have to say, I'm probably one of the biggest skeptics there is, and I do this. So I even tell my clients that. I say, I'm the biggest skeptic there is, so I need the evidence. And, you know, some people will say to me, oh, by this time you should believe. And it's not that I don't believe. I think it's more the confidence, where we lack confidence in ourselves.
Right.
And we can lack the confidence in the information we're getting. So that's the one thing I would tell everyone who's beginning to develop, is that's very normal. That's very common for all of us to lack the confidence to know, is that coming from me, or am I really getting that from from someone in spirit? So for me, in the beginning, when we say we set the intent and we tell the other side what we're looking for, I told them, you better give me the proof, because if you don't give me some sort of evidence, I'm not doing this anymore. And so, interestingly enough, just as you said, they started giving evidence from the very beginning. And that is what I think is the biggest thing that has given me confidence, is when there is someone from the other side that steps forward, and the information they give, maybe on name or where they were born or what they did, and then you have gone and looked them up and found out, yes, that's accurate. I think, wow, so that helps with the confidence. So in the very beginning, I needed that. And now I have come to a place of, I just trust and I believe. And there is no doubt in my mind, if a doctor in trance steps forward, that he gives some sort of medical advice and I go look it up, it has always been accurate, always.
Do you know, it's amazing, because Kathy Belton always says in her interviews how people answer questions she has, and you've answered so many just in that little bit about evidence and everything else. Do you, because I remember when Joe Shoemaker came through, Kim gave all the information about where he lives, his address in Baltimore City. It was many, many years ago, names and everything, and I looked it up and it was all accurate. And how could you possibly know that? And the thing is, the street's not even there anymore. It's something that existed then, and they tore all the homes down and put a freeway through it. So the street did exist. So that's what was amazing. I loved it. So I want to ask you, when you're in an altered state of consciousness, what does it feel like?
Well, I think blending, to me, when I start the blending process, a lot of people will say, for them, they feel spirit around them right away. And for me, it does take a little bit longer before I start to feel, maybe I feel a little bit of pressure around my head. Sometimes I'll feel like they're trying to scratch my face. It might feel like, I think like if you walk through a cobweb, what that would feel like on your face, where you'd want to brush it away. So I will feel that. I do feel interesting. I've noticed in the last, say, 6 months to a year, my breathing, I will actually think to myself, am I still breathing? Because it's like you get to a point of all your physical sensations start to shift and change as well. So in the beginning, yes, I feel the cobwebs, but then as I go into it a little bit deeper, I do notice that my breathing dramatically changes and is much more relaxed in trance.
That's true, because there's been times that I've observed you and I'm wondering, is she breathing? It's like you're in trance. It's awesome. So do you believe that circles are important for trance mediumship?
Yes. Yes, I believe that trance circles are important for validation. I do believe also trance circles are important. It's the energy of the circle that, like, it actually is a battery, and it helps boost my energy. So at the end of every single circle, I quietly say in my mind, I thank everyone who participated for giving me the battery to do what I do, because the energy is amazing when you sit with a group of people versus when I sit by myself. I can't even explain it.
Even over the internet. That's what's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
I've had people tell me they've had in-person circles, which Ray has told us, and he says it's just as strong over the web. which
I
makes
would,
it,
I agree with that. I mean, even I think mediums that are doing readings online, I don't notice any difference if I do a reading by FaceTime or if I do a reading by Zoom. I even do readings by phone, and I just have, I guess I've never noticed a difference. But with sitting in a circle, I well notice a difference of the energy, the overall energy sitting in a circle versus sitting by myself.
and the knowledge.
Mhm.
There is a lot of energy sitting by yourself. Now, I was told once that the reason why I don't feel a lot of energy sitting by myself is because I sit with a group of like-minded people when we sit and blend together. And that when I'm blending and practicing by myself, I don't feel that energy, and you think, what's wrong with me, and so forth. But it is true, because that energy is so strong with a circle of people, even over the internet, that it's amazing. It is amazing. We have a lot of good
You know,
experiences.
a lot of times too, I think it's the same way if I do a private sitting with just one or two people versus platform demonstration. I mean, the energy is way stronger during a platform. It's like the more people you gather and the more people that are wanting the same results, I think it's like a battery. It just boosts everyone's energy.
Yeah, it's so true. It's amazing. And the information that we get from it too is amazing. So what do you think about philosophy and trance?
I love all of trance. I mean, I love the philosophy. I have learned a lot from philosophy. It has definitely shifted my own views on different things, where I think, wow, I never really thought about it like that. And then I know there have been times when I have changed my views on things. I know there has.
I do know that I kind of find your trance unique because you do philosophy. Your doctor comes through and he gives medical information for us, and you look it up, or some of us look it up, and it's true from the past, things that are done. And then you bring people through that were from the past. And you have also brought through about colors. I don't know if you remember that, but I truly remember it. Your guide came through once and said for us to beware or be on the lookout for color changes. And next thing we knew, colors were changing in our circle, and it still does to this day. Ray sits behind a gray wall, in front of a gray wall, excuse me, and his color, his auras just stretch out, green, blue, now purple. It's amazing. And Eileen's color turns, everybody's does. Do you remember that?
Yes,
You
that
did
was
know?
quite a while ago, and it happened almost immediately.
Yes, and it's gotten more stronger over time. That was in 2019, or maybe the end of 2018 that you predicted that. And then the frequencies. You predict the changes in frequencies, and it's happening. A lot of people probably don't understand what frequency is. Do you know how to explain it? I got you on that one, didn't I?
Well,
Sorry.
I mean, of course, the frequencies, I see it in a couple of different ways. One, we can talk about frequency on the planet.
Right.
And so the easiest way to explain, I think, the planet to people is, you know, there's a lot more psychic mediums today than there were 50 years ago.
Mhm.
And so as our planet shifts and changes, the frequency changes, which I look at frequency more like a radio dial. And so as the planet is tuning in the radio dial, so are we. And so more and more people are able to make the connection because the frequency of the channel changed, which is a good thing because the frequency is going to continue to change on Earth. As far as our individual frequency, each person, you know, to me, it comes back to where people are at in evolution, as far as frequency to connect to the other side. But I also think frequency does and can affect our aura, and can affect us medically as well. Because I think the more sensitive, I tell everyone, you know, people will say to me, oh, I wish I could do what you do. And I will say, you know, be careful what you wish for, because the more sensitive, the more we learn to connect to the other side. And the more, I'm going to say, we do this, the more sensitive we are to energy. So with what was going on in the world, I literally, like, I cried for days because I could just feel the energy going on around the world.
And
I
so
hope that answers it.
it does. Frank, yeah, there is different types of frequencies and things, but you did predict it would change, but you probably didn't expect it to be how it is.
No, I did not expect it to be quite like this.
I go through the videos a lot and the transcripts that were written from then when Jane used to type them up too. And I think she typed the color one up. I can't remember, but it was in there. I was like, oh my God, you actually predicted that. Maybe I'll have to split it and put it on the website. Yeah. So can you tell us a little bit about your book?
I wrote a book, Death is Not Goodbye. It was written last year. It is currently on Kindle. You can purchase the actual copy of the book through Amazon right now. And actually, my publisher told me just earlier today that you can actually go online and pre-purchase from any bookstore at this point. So with everything going on in the world, the actual book comes out February 2nd, but the audio book comes out November, and the Kindle book is already on there. Now that is part of what the publisher does. They kind of stagger things out, because right now the bookstores, they all get on there and place, however many copies they want for Barnes and Noble and all of them. So that's what is taking place right now. It's exciting. I wanted to write the book to show people that they could actually learn how to do this to some extent. Now, that being said, I tell everyone, we could look at numerology, I could look at astrology, I could look at someone's chart and say, oh, you're supposed to be doing this. So it's interesting for me. I tell people, I cannot hide who I am, because a really good astrologer would look at my astrology report and go, oh, you're a psychic medium, or you can do this. So where I think everyone has some gifts is the development part. And so everyone can learn to play the piano to some extent. Everyone won't be Mozart or be up on a stage somewhere, but I think everyone can learn to see the signs or make some connections to their loved ones who have passed. And that was the whole reason I wanted to write the book, was I wanted to help all of them. Throughout my life as a medium and through my own life experiences, death can be heartbreaking for people who do not have any understanding of the other side. I always say, for me, that has been a gift, because I do have a much better understanding of what it's like on the other side. But to someone who has no understanding, and they come to see me for a reading and they lost a child, or they lost, their spouse, and they've only been married a couple of years. For me, it's just heart-wrenching. And so I wanted to do this book more for them, to show them. And I will tell you, it's been amazing the number of people who have downloaded it on Kindle. It is amazing how many people, just in the last 2 months, lost someone to COVID that have gotten my book and then sent me messages. So I do thank all of those people, but honestly, I wanted to do it more for everyone else.
That's amazing. That's why I wanted to talk about your book, because I remember us having that conversation. I didn't mean to get off the subject of trance, but I did want to get on the subject of your book too.
Yeah. So there you go.
So, but I know we talk about after trance, you get hungry.
Yes.
So a lot of people have messaged me, do you get hungry after trance? So you do eat.
There's two things I think physically is I can drink literally a whole bottle of water within probably 15 minutes after coming out of trance. And that's amazing, because I'm not a big water drinker. I mean, I'll go on the record to say I do not drink as nearly as much water as I should. But after trance, I do feel I have to, resupply my body with the water. That is number one. Number two is I am famished. Like I could eat anything and everything. And, usually I do snack on something afterwards. And we just recently talked about it. I asked everyone else, are you guys hungry? Because I'm always hungry after trance, always. That's one thing, I have found is the being hungry. A lot of times, we'll talk about the hot cold. So sometimes, like right when I'm coming out of trance, the whole room or where I'm sitting is super cold, like to where I get a blanket out. And I always joke and say, I'm going to start wearing boots because my feet get so cold during trance.
Yeah, my feet get cold too. But I've tried to put socks on. I just can't do it. I don't know. So yeah, and the thirsty, which you already went through that. That was another question, which is pretty good. I know that a lot of water is important, and I do tell some of the students that I'm helping that you have to drink a lot of water, but I never see them put a bottle of water to their mouth. They'll get it one day, won't they? One day when they're sitting there wishing they had water. So I want you to tell me.
I've thought, there's got to be something to it, because recently I started sitting with salt and a bowl of water under my chair when I sit for trance.
Oh, wow.
And I will weigh the salt and water before I start. And an hour later, I weigh them again. And every single time I have done it, which is probably about 15 times now, the water has always changed.
Really?
Always. Yes. And so I tell everyone, like I said, I'm the biggest skeptic there is. So I have to have these little experiments to prove to myself. But that actually came with one of my mentors. And that came through from the other side, more water, more salt. And so I asked him, what does that mean? He said, oh yeah. So then I started sitting with water and salt underneath my chair. And I think works for physical mediumship as well. But the water has changed every single time.
When you say change, what do you mean?
Like 1/10 of an ounce.
Wow.
So the salt, the only thing I've noticed with the salt is I had one time it changed, but otherwise the salt has not changed, but the water has changed every single time.
Wow.
And that's over an hour. In 1 hour of sitting in trance, it will change.
That's amazing. Now I have to try it. Because an hour, you think it would take a few days,
Yeah.
So, I've had people on my page that were, that wanted to join my page until they realized what blending was actually, blending with spirit. And I love blending with spirit. You get addicted to it, you really do. And you can just feel the download of spirit. So I've had them leave my page and message me. They've apologized, or they would say that I'm taking a chance of blending with the devil's advocate, or an evil spirit of some sort, which I do not even, I don't believe in it at all. And so I want you to give your views on it.
I think my views, as I said, I always have had voices in my head. And so years and years ago, it was interesting. One of the writings I did, whoever in spirit, they give lessons from time to time. And one of the lessons was on good and evil. And they actually explained it in the way of evolution, higher consciousness, lower consciousness. And that lower consciousness, and we interact with all levels of consciousness on earth, from low to high. And some people would say young souls, old souls. So that would be another way I would explain it. But the younger souls, up to like when they're teenage souls, will live their life on a me basis. And the mature and older souls will live their lives based on we. So they never refer to it as good and evil. They referred to it as more, evolved and less evolved, or higher consciousness, lower consciousness. And I also say that, we're living this life in the physical body, and we can manifest things that we, maybe want to do. If I want to learn to play the piano, and I think that I can go and practice that, or I can, work on mediumship. So when we get to the other side, consciously, we can manifest things as well. So if I had someone, let's say, that was fearful, you're going to attract what you believe.
Right.
And then the other side will manifest. They can manifest the lower, I'm going to say lower consciousness. If you, that's where you are at, vibrating, I'm going to say lower consciousness, you can bring that into your mind. And I do believe that. However, I also believe that if you remain in a higher state of consciousness, it's like the lower states can't really affect you. They can try, but they really can't affect you. A good example is, look at what's going on in the world. So some people can get involved and, go on Facebook and write nasty posts. And I would say, that's probably a little bit lower consciousness. where other people, have a lot more tolerance, and they will say, well, they need, this is something they need to go through, which to me, that would be a higher consciousness. Now, that being said, we're all evolving, but eventually everyone will get there. It's just all roads lead home. It's just depending on which road we want to take and how long we want to maybe go on the scenic drive before we get there.
No, that's a great answer. Awesome. I believe in that too. I don't believe in lowers, and I do believe you have to keep your vibrations high at all times.
Mm-hmm.
If you even entertain the thought of something lower coming in, it's in your mind.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. That's all I know how to say it, but.
Well, if you consciously believe that it can happen, through the natural laws, law of attraction, then that's what you can attract.
It's a manifesting, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. This has been really good, Kim. Do you have anything you want to say?
I would just like to say I very much appreciate you starting the circle.
Thank you.
It has literally changed my whole life by participating in a circle for the development. There is, throughout our experience with trance, circles will change. People will come and go, and there is a definite difference in energies as people come together. Mm-hmm. But I would tell anyone that wants to develop their mediumship, whether it be trance or any form of mental mediumship, I would say sit in a circle, because that will be your greatest teacher of all, is to sit and develop.
We definitely have a lot of opportunities out there to do it now.
Mm-hmm.
And my goal has been always to get others to start circles. It hasn't been easy. And that's been a lot of people's goals, but it's not really easy. And we appreciate you. You've been with my circle since 2018, you and Ray. You're still the co-founders. It's been awesome. It really has. And I do thank you for coming and helping me. I'm kind of nervous, so I'm a little,
I hope you're not nervous anymore.
No, I'm getting better. I'm not nervous in my circle, but interviews, because, it's really weird.
As far as interviews, I think it's great. I think it's great what you're doing, because I think especially for beginners, I know in the beginning, I want to say hid. I didn't even use my actual name. I was doing readings on the side under another name. And then I started using my actual name, much later. And so I think there's a lot of beginners that they want to develop, but they don't know where to go. They don't know how to do it. And so circles is one safe, I'm going to say safe place to go and develop. So I would encourage anyone that wants to develop to go find a circle and participate in that circle. And I think you can't show up a few times. I think you have to make a commitment for a period of, 6 months or a year before you will actually see the benefits of sitting in that circle.
Yeah, that's true too. It takes a lot of patience, lots and lots of dedication and patience. And you just started speaking when you were in the circle.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Maybe I should ask that question. What was it like your first time you spoke? I should write that down for future people.
It comes back to, is that me, or is that really someone from the other side? And it is amazing that you can find the evidence. And so I really think that the other side, we all have guides, and they're all working with us. And I really think your guides know what it is you need to develop. They knew what I needed for development. And they continue to deliver over and over and over for me, whether I'm doing a private sitting platform or I'm sitting in trance. The other side comes through every single time. So that's the other thing I would tell everyone when they're, first developing, is to try to find the trust and faith that your guides know what's best for you, and they will direct you in the direction you need to go.
Also getting to know them too.
Yes.
A lot, because you sit with people that I try to help sometimes. I sit with them and they don't know their guides, but it's very important to know your guides and to know their presence, how they feel, who's blending with you.
Well, you can even tell a difference in guides. Like when the doctor shows up, I know the doctor is very matter of fact, and this is, and where, someone else on philosophy, it just, the energies feel different. And I think, but that's what we all call a calling card.
Yes, exactly.
I call it a calling card. And so you'll start to notice subtle differences. Like I have one guy, when they show up, my feet get cold every single time. Every single time. And then I'll have another show up that I feel like someone's breathing down my back, literally. Like I feel like they're right here. So I think, the more that you do it, yes, you'll start to feel the difference. And when you first start, I think everyone questions what the information they're getting. But the more you do it, I think is where the confidence comes in.
It's true. It is true. And then you can sit with anybody and do it. Yeah. And it's really nice how when you can go into trance and just let it flow.
And when you said it's addictive, it's very addictive.
It is very addictive. And when you do speak in trance, you mentioned one time about you feeling like you're being dictated to. Yeah. So everybody has a different experience. So when you speak in trance, you said you feel like it's a dictation. What does that feel like to you?
It feels like I'm just saying what someone else is saying to me. It's like someone's saying something right here, and I'm just repeating what they're saying. That's how it has pretty much always felt for me. Now trance healing in my experience has been different. Trance healing, I'm in the healing room and I'm watching the doctors work on someone, and I'm able to watch what they're doing, and I'll ask them questions and they answer. I'm not saying that out loud necessarily, but I have watched them. And then other times one of the doctors, like in our circle, will just come forward, and it has been amazing to me, because typically it's something that someone has struggled with and some healing. They need some sort of healing. And so they're just giving, I say, their 2 cents.
Which is actually a couple of times Kim has brought through healing. It was my husband that needed healing. He was in the next room, but it was something for him, which was amazing. So it's pretty good. This has been great, Kim. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. This has been wonderful, and I've really enjoyed it.
I'm glad you did, and thank you, because it's helping me to develop in interviewing. We all help each other. Thank you, Kim.